Hello everyone and welcome back to Just K, where we talk about everything that is health. As usual, to my subscribers, thank you for joining me again, and I love you and I appreciate you. If you're new here, please consider clicking on that subscribe button and click on the notification bell to see all of our future videos. It does really help me out. We talk about everything that is health here. We've been focusing on spiritual health. Times are difficult right now. 2020 was hard, but we really can't take our seatbelts off yet. So I wanted to take a minute and talk about blood pressure. What does that have to do with spiritual health? We'll talk about that at the end of the video. Blood pressure is the force of blood pushing against your artery walls as it goes through your body. That's what your blood pressure is. 46% of adults in the US, that's around 103 million people, or 1 in every 2 person has hypertension. Left untreated, hypertension can lead to vision problems, stroke, heart attack, or kidney failure, just to name a few. So let me explain a little bit about blood pressure. The systolic blood pressure, or the top number, that is the force of the blood being squeezed and pushed through the arteries to the rest of your body when your heart beats. The bottom number, or diastolic number, that rests between your heart beats, it's when your heart fills with blood and gets oxygen. It's the pressure in your arteries at the time of that rest that makes up your diastolic blood pressure. Side note, just in case you don't know, arteries are blood vessels that deliver oxygen-rich blood from the heart to the rest of the body's tissues. They're a muscular tube with 3 layers lined by a smooth tissue, and that'll become important in a later in the video. There are 2 main types of hypertension. There's essential hypertension, and that's when the underlying cause of it isn't immediately available. That's when you look at things like diet, obesity, diabetes, heavy drinking, low exercise, and things of that nature that can be a factor. Secondary hypertension is when the cause for your high blood pressure is identified, like kidney disease or adrenal gland tumors. Nearly 1 in 4 adults, this is important because a lot of people think that blood pressure comes with age. 1 in 4 adults between the ages of 20 and 44 have hypertension and don't know it. And that's why we're talking about it today. Taking your blood pressure at home is extremely important because going to your primary care physician does not always indicate, or will not always be your indicator that you have high blood pressure. Not to throw salt on, but depending on the medical assistant for various reasons, you don't always get your blood pressure taken correctly. Let me give you some examples. I've dealt with blood pressure for at least past 20 years now. High blood pressure, hypertension, blood pressure crises. I've had all of these things. A normal blood pressure for me in a normal circumstance is a high blood pressure. When I go to a physician's office, my last 2 primary care appointments, my blood pressure is taken and the medical assistant tells me it's normal. Now I can see it and feel it when she's taking my blood pressure, and I know that she only pumps up to a certain point. They teach you to pump to a certain degree for the average person unless you know they have high blood pressure. That doesn't work today because you don't know who has high blood pressure. They could be 15, they could be 50. So if you're taught to only squeeze to a certain point, unless you know they have high blood pressure, you're really missing out on a lot of people. Then there's a lazy medical assistant, because high blood pressure is one of my primary things that's listed on my medical history list, but yet and still she doesn't take my blood pressure correctly. If you take your blood pressure at home, you can mention it to your physician, okay, and have your blood pressure retaken if you feel like it's incorrect. Because hypertension is considered a symptomless disease, that's why it's important to take your blood pressure at home. If you don't exercise often, if you have diabetes, even if you just have a poor diet, if You like to turn up often and drink a lot. Check your blood pressure at home. Oftentimes when you feel the symptoms of a blood pressure crisis, it's because you've got other things going on that your blood pressure has been high so long. Chest pain, eye troubles, things of that nature, okay? And if you don't feel like you have high blood pressure, when you start having those issues, the eye troubles, the chest pain, you're more likely to pass them off as something else and making the problem worse. Hypertension can kill you, okay? I did a video earlier in the year, which I'll post here, where I share some of the symptoms that I experience when my blood pressure is high. And I want you to watch that because they're symptoms that most people will pass off, meaning like the pain right behind your eyes or the tired eye feeling. Watch that video and check out those symptoms for more. So here's some things you need to know about home monitoring. The first and foremost you need to know are the guidelines. The current guidelines for blood pressure are normal blood pressure is less than 120 systolic, the top number, and less than 80 dystolic, the bottom number. An elevated blood pressure will go from 120 to 129 systolic and less than 80 dystolic. High blood pressure they consider between 130 and 139 systolic and 80 to 89 diastolic. They consider a hypertensive emergency if you have a blood pressure higher, top number higher than 180, bottom number higher than 120. If you have that, if you take your blood pressure and that is the numbers you're getting, you need to seek medical help. When we talk about taking our blood pressure at home, let's talk about monitors a little bit. Wrist and finger monitors are not the most accurate, but if that's what you've got, then we're going to work with that. An electric monitor, which I'm going to show you here, is simple to use. You can use it yourself. You put it on your arm, make sure you're in the right position, press a button, and it will monitor your pulse as well as your blood pressure. It will also record that number for you. Manual blood pressure can't be done by yourself. It has to be done with two people, and you really have to understand how to read the blood pressure monitor to do it. I'm going to give you an example or not. But the most important thing to remember with the manual blood pressure is when you first squeeze and you release the valve a little bit, you hear a thump. That thump doesn't count as your blood pressure. There's a little rest after that, and then it starts thumping on a regular basis, and that's where your blood pressure starts. At the end of the little thumping, the number you see there, that's your diastolic number. Important things to take note of when taking your blood pressure at home is to be still. And what that means is no exercise, no smoking, no caffeine, 30 minutes before you take it. You take it at the same time, on the same arm, every day. You sit correctly. You sit with your back straight and supported, preferably by something sturdy like a dining chair, with both feet flat, legs not crossed, and your arm should be supported on a flat surface with your upper arm heart level, as you see in this picture here. Again, if you have hypertension and you start experiencing shortness of breath, visual changes, weakness, or headaches, seek medical attention right away. Don't want to scare you, but I kind of do. So I'm going to give you some issues that are associated with unchecked hypertension. Damaged arteries. You remember the arteries were the tube-like structure that comes in 3 layers with the smooth tissue on the outside. Okay, the damage happens to the inner lining when fats from diet, when that lining is damaged, fats from your diet enter into the bloodstream, and they collect inside those damaged artery walls. They become less elastic, and then it starts to limit blood flow. Aneurysm. An aneurysm is the continued pressure of blood moving through weakened arteries, and it can cause a section of the wall to bulge. It's most common, it can happen with any artery, but it's most common with the aorta, which is the largest one. Coronary artery disease, or CAD. That's narrow arteries that have trouble supplying blood to the heart. This causes chest pain or irregular heartbeat. There's all-out heart failure, which is just the strain of your heart. The strain put on your heart causes the muscle to weaken and work less efficiently. There is a transischemic attack, or a TIA, which some of you have probably heard of. That's a mini stroke, and that's a brief temporary disruption of the blood supply to your brain, but it's the warning of a full-on, full-blown stroke. And a stroke is when your brain is deprived of oxygen and nutrients. Retinopathy, that's damage to the light-sensitive tissue at the back of your eye, or your retina, and it causes bleeding of the eye, blurred or loss of vision. There's also one called choroidopathy, and that's like the fluid buildup in the retina itself. Heart attack. You've all heard of a heart attack. What's going on with the heart attack is the flow of blood to the heart has been completely blocked, and so the muscle starts dying. Why am I giving you a blood pressure video as we talk about spiritual health? It goes back to your spirit is your body, that breath you breathe. It goes back to the thing that we pay the least attention to, and we don't associate our spiritual health to our mind's health and to our body's health. And it is closely related. If your spirit is together, then your body is more together and your mind is more together. And in all the things going on in this world today, and all the things we have to worry about, coupled with our diets, and I don't even mean coming just from a perspective of our choice to eat bad foods. I'm talking food deserts where foods are not readily available to a lot of poor people or people of color. I'm talking the healthcare disparities that are being noticed finally going on in this world today. All of these things coming to light can be scary, can be traumatizing. If nothing else, it can make you angry. And those are all stressors that increase your blood pressure. The other thing walking around with high blood pressure will do is it puts you at a higher risk for bad and serious complications when other things like corona or just a flu happen to you. If all of that is cool, you walk around with hypertension, you could be cut down at the prime of your life from kidney disease, which is no joke. Pay attention to your blood pressure, pay attention to your spirit. Let's take control of our mind, body, and soul. We can do this together, y'all. That's all for this video. I can't wait to see you next time. Don't forget, click on that notification bell, and if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel. Bye.